The hum of the air conditioner barely dulled the echo of brass clinking across the tile floor. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like hornets trapped in glass tubes. In the lobby of the Copper Ridge shooting range, the scent of gun oil and cheap coffee mixed with the thick, invisible layer of testosterone that hung in the air like humidity. Veterans with shaved heads and faded unit patches leaned over counters, chuckling about war stories they'd already told 5 times. A row of off-duty deputies, their belts heavy with gear, cracked jokes about weekend warriors who couldn't tell a Glock from a garden hose. Then she walked in. Marianne Hale pushed open the door with a quiet squeak, boots scuffing the welcome mat that read, "Lock, load, respect." She looked like someone who didn't care much for slogans. Her denim jacket was faded at the shoulders and frayed at the cuffs, the kind of garment that had soaked up years of roadside dust and motel room mornings. Her jeans sagged at the knees, darkened where she'd knelt in dirt or scrubbed oil stains no detergent could reach. The cap on her head was as colorless as the horizon, pulled low enough to shadow the upper half of her face. Still, the men inside noticed the way her eyes moved calm, methodical, scanning the room like she was measuring distances, exits, and threats without thinking about it. She carried an old rifle case. Not the kind you buy for show. This one had corners taped with gray duck strips that curled from heat and time. There was no patch, no decal, no badge of honor or hobby. Just the case, gripped in her left hand with fingers that didn't tremble. One of the younger guys near the ammo display leaned in to his buddy. "Sweetheart, lost the yoga class?" he said, just loud enough to be heard, not loud enough to own. The room chuckled. Behind the counter, a tall man with a salt and pepper beard and mirrored Oakleys glanced over the top of her ID. His lips curled into a half smirk. "You sure you're cleared for this caliber, ma'am?" He dragged out the last word like a smirk sharpened into syllables. "Got some light pistols if that's more your lane." Marianne didn't blink. She signed the form, slow and even, the pen gliding like she'd done it 1,000 times without anyone watching. The range officer flipped a laminated card toward her. "Lane 14, far end. Try not to get lost." As she walked, a knot of 20-somethings in tactical tees and sunglasses huddled near the vending machine started whispering. One of them, a tall kid with tattooed arms and too much gel in his hair, tapped his buddy on the chest. $50 says she can't even hit paper. Another grinned. 10 she drops the gun trying to load it. The jokes stacked on each other like spent casings. To them, she was just a lady with crow's feet and a dusty case, probably bored, probably lost, probably clueless. Nobody asked her name. Nobody asked what was in the case. They didn't need to. In their minds, they'd already written her story. They didn't know it yet, but they were standing in the presence of the punchline, and it was coming for Thamoni bullseye at a time. The hallway to lane 14 smelled like old gunpowder and solvent. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead, buzzing in sync with the faint mechanical whine of the target rails pulling back and forth across the lanes. Marianne's boots thudded softly on the scuffed rubber floor, each step deliberate, her old case banging gently against her leg. Lane 14 was the loneliest strip of concrete in the building set farthest from the reinforced viewing glass, half shadowed by a flickering overhead bulb. Most regulars avoided it. The ventilation was weaker here. The walls had more bullet scars than posters. It was the kind of place you got sent when they didn't expect you to hit anything worth watching. Marianne didn't flinch. She laid the case down with care. No brand patches, no tactical flair, just that same old duct tape curling at the corners. She cracked it open, and from inside, with the slow reverence of someone setting an altar, she pulled out an old M14, its wooden stock worn to a warm sheen, the barrel dark with age but lovingly cleaned. Not flashy, not modern, but every inch of it had been touched, maintained, remembered. Next came a rag soft, pale and fraying at the edges. She laid it flat beside her, not for show, not for cleanliness, but out of habit. Her hands moved over the weapon with a grace that didn't match her jacket or boots. No trembling, no hesitation. She loaded a magazine, slid it into place with the familiar click of metal finding home. In the next lane, a man in mirrored safety glasses leaned around the divider. He was barrel-chested, all bravado, chewing gum like it owed him something. He watched her hands and snorted. "You might want to turn that around, Annie Oakley," he said, chuckling loud enough for others nearby to hear. No one needed context, just a punchline. Marianne didn't answer. She didn't even turn her head. She stepped forward into the lane, shoulders square. With the rifle cradled in her arms, she exhaled unsaid and then, slowly, she closed her eyes. The sound in the room changed. Someone coughed, another scoffed. A low, "What the hell?" rippled through the air. The shot cracked through the silence like a whip. Bullseye. The second came 3 seconds later. Another, snap, followed by a startled murmur. The third landed dead center again. Gasps now. Conversations trailed off mid-sentence. By the time she fired the fifth shot, even the man in the mirrored glasses had gone quiet. By the 10th, the range was silent. No chatter, no laughter. Just the soft hum of ceiling fans and the steady creak of a target rail sliding back, bullet holes punched perfectly through the dead center of each ring. Marianne stepped back, calm. She didn't pose, didn't turn for applause. Just ejected the mag, set the rifle down, and picked up her rag. She wiped her hands the way you might after shelling pecans on a porch, slow, habitual, quietly proud. A man, not one of the mockers this time, walked over. He looked at the target, then at her, then at the rifle like it had done something supernatural. You trained?" he asked, almost breathless. Marianne shrugged, folding the cloth. "Nope," she said simply, her voice even, her face unreadable. "Just practiced." But in that voice, in that quiet answer, was the sound of something deeper, something that had once bled, once broken, once endured. Something that knew how to breathe through recoil, how to read the wind behind closed eyes. Something buried and still alive. The video hit the internet before the sun even set. Grainy, shot from a shaky smartphone in the next lane over, it caught the moment her 10th bullet pierced the exact center of the paper target-tight grouping. Not one shot off. No posing. No flashy celebration. Just Marianne, stepping back with calm detachment, wiping her hands with that soft, fraying cloth. The title slapped across the thumbnail in bold yellow text read, "Desert Mom Outshoots the Marines?" Her denim jacket, the duct-taped rifle case, her cap pulled low, it all added to the myth. She looked like someone's aunt, not a sharpshooter. That was the hook, the disbelief, the contrast. By midnight, the views had crossed 600. Zero. Comments poured in like spent shells. "Fake, has to be. She's sandbagging. Who is she? Bro, I've seen guys with Ranger tabs miss at 50 yards. This ain't normal. Is this a recruiting video or what?" Some zoomed in on the weapon. Others tried to enhance her face. A few claimed they recognized the grip, the way she held the rifle, the slight tilt of her wrist, how she exhaled before pulling the trigger. The internet buzzed with theories, but one person didn't just speculate, they recognized her. In a dim office tucked behind layers of authorization protocols, a gray-haired analyst named Rains watched the clip with frozen eyes. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, unmoving, as the 10th shot hit center mass. Again. He didn't need to replay it. He remembered that grip, that stillness, that silence. He reached for a locked drawer, pulled out a faded file with a yellowing tab labeled Benedict Program 2009. Most people in the Defense Department didn't even know it existed. The Benedict program had been buried years ago, not out of shame, but because too few made it through. It wasn't about marksmanship in the traditional sense. It was about sensory targeting, reading shifts in wind pressure, counting beats of breath. Shooting with your eyes closed and your instincts open. A radical experiment in training the human body to become the weapon. Most couldn't handle it. Some went blind in the trials. A few lost their minds. 4 died before the program was shut down. Only 3 had completed it. One was later killed in an overseas op gone sideways. Another had disappeared entirely, rumored to be off-grid in Alaska. And the last? The last was a woman who walked away after her spotter was killed during a final test scenario gone wrong. A misfire. Friendly fire. She'd requested her name be removed. No pension. No record. No trace. Just a signature on a form, a dog tag left on the table, and silence. Her name was Marianne Hale. Back at the Copper Ridge Range, the owner sat in his office, a half-eaten sandwich going stale beside a printout of her registration form. No service record, no employment history. Just an address that traced back to a rundown trailer park out near Dry Lake Road, a box number, nothing else. He leaned back, staring at the name for a while. The same woman who'd just turned his shooting lanes into viral battlegrounds. The same woman who had folded her weapon like it was a sacred relic and walked out without saying a word. He didn't know what scared him more, that she might come back, or that she might not. The morning sun hadn't even dried the dew off the gravel lot when a black SUV rolled up to Copper Ridge shooting range. It wasn't loud. It didn't have sirens or tinted windows screaming government. But every man sipping bad coffee in the lobby sat a little straighter when the passenger door opened, and a man in a charcoal blazer and desert boots stepped out. He wore no rank, no badge. Just moved like someone who didn't need one. He walked past the front desk without speaking, the range owner catching his breath mid-chew. The man gave a small nod, tapped the laminated sign-in sheet with 2 fingers, and then looked down the line of lanes through the security glass straight toward lane 14. Marianne was already there. Same denim jacket, same scuffed boots, same duct-taped case. She had just finished setting up when he appeared beside her without a word. She didn't startle, she didn't even turn. Just pulled the bolt back, checked the chamber, and waited. He stood for a moment, watching her hands move. Then, quietly, he nodded once and stepped back. No conversation, no questioning, no clipboard or file. Just a nod that carried weight, like 2 ghosts brushing shoulders and walking away. Behind the glass, the regulars were quieter today. The laughter was gone. Some of them hadn't shown up all week, spooked by the viral video or embarrassed by how they'd sounded in the background, voices joking, doubting, mocking a woman who hit 10 for 10 with her eyes closed. One of them, Mick, the guy with the mirrored glasses and big talk, finally worked up the nerve to approach her when she came out to clean her gear. He kept his distance, hands awkward in his pockets. "Hey, listen," he started, voice dropping. "About last time, I was out of line. Just thought, you seemed." Marianne looked up. Her face was blank, unreadable, but her eyes were sharp. Not angry, not even cold, just piercing, like they saw through excuses before they were spoken. "I wasn't here for you," she said. That was it. He nodded, swallowed hard, and stepped back. And just like that, she packed her things, no grand exit, no audience, and walked out the way she came. Quiet, unbothered, untouchable. That night, long after the doors were locked and the lights dimmed to their usual soft hum, someone with a steady hand and a steel bit etched a message into the wall behind lane 14. Just small enough not to catch the eye. Just bold enough to be read by anyone looking for it. Skill doesn't shout, it hits the mark. The staff didn't see who did it, no one claimed it, no cameras caught the moment. But after that, something changed. New shooters paused before picking their lane. Old-timers lowered their voices when they passed the far wall. And when someone asked what happened on lane 14, the answer was always the same. She was just a woman, wore denim, kept her eyes closed, hit 10 for 10. The one they laughed at. Until they didn't.